On this day in history, in 1865, John Wilkes Booth, Lincoln's assassin, was surrounded by federal troops in a barn in Virginia. He was shot and killed, either by soldiers or his own hand. Where was this in the 2012 movie that Steven Spielberg did? I mean, I think that it would have been a way better ending, but despite all that, and of course the content of the film, Lincoln did very well in theaters. Welcome, live from Wattpad Nation. You're watching The Corner Booth. Oh, man, sorry. That was probably a really terrible joke, and I'm going to get a lot of flack for it. I just want to welcome everybody. We have an amazing panel for you tonight, and that's how we're going to start off the High Five. This is just an introduction to everything that is The Corner Booth. If this is the first episode you have ever watched, I hope that you go to our playlist on our channel. It is called Season 1, and you can see all 5 episodes we have broadcasted thus far. We do one every single week at 6:30 Eastern on Sundays. So, without further ado, I am going to introduce this amazing panel. And tonight, they are going to share with you some of their guilty pleasures. And how we're going to do that is we're going to hit 3 points. We're going to hit a song or artist, a movie, and a book. So I'm going to start with Miss Rita Kovac. Will you talk about your guilty pleasures?
Absolutely. Thanks, Nat. So my guilty pleasure song is one that many people would recognize if they heard it, but even if they don't know what it's called. It's a classical composition written by Johann Pachelbel from the late 17th century called Canon in D. This is frequently played at weddings, and its familiar choral progression has been used in many pop songs that you would surely recognize. I particularly like a version called Canon Rock, which is an electric guitar arrangement that had a huge inspiration on me when I was writing my first book. And if you don't know it, go look it up on YouTube after the broadcast, of course, and check it out. Excuse me. So my guilty pleasure books are actually from when I was back in high school. Back then, we didn't have an awesome internet sites like Wattpad, where you could just log into the internet. I mean, we didn't even really have an internet. What was that? And read for free. So we actually had to buy real books made out of actual paper. Oh, the horror. So I was part of this book club of the week with Harlequin Romance, believe it or not, and I could read one of their 100-page books in less than a day. I must have gone through hundreds by the time I went away to college, and before I had didn't have time to read anymore because had my studies to focus on.
Harlequin books,
Finally,
that's the ones that have like the really, really beautifully illustrated covers. And,
oh yeah,
the guy with really
with Fabio and
yeah.
Yeah, those are the ones, and I'm blushing already. But out of all 3 of these guilty pleasures, this one for me is the most embarrassing. What could be more embarrassing than reading hundreds of trashy romance novels or fangirling over a 300-year-old classical composition? Well, this is it. And I see Nat recognizes it immediately. My guilty pleasure movie is The Covenant. I mean, who could pass up a movie about male witches? Come on now. Not me, obviously, because I own the DVD. It has Stephen Strait, Taylor Kitsch, and Sebastian Stan before they got famous.
Yes, before.
There's also an awesome soundtrack and lots of rainy scenes shot with a blue filter to give it that proper creepy vibe. So yeah, I could probably watch this more than I should, and would highly recommend it to anyone who hasn't seen it before.
Amazing, amazing. Miss Mary Tabor.
Yeah. Okay, well, there's the famous Canadian, and after all, we have Gavin here, and he's now in Toronto. I know he's not from Canada, but Leonard Cohen, there's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Anthem is my favorite song. Movie, mostly Martha. This is a German an Italian movie with subtitles, but it's all about food and love and family. And favorite book is Vladimir Nabokov's Speak Memory, gorgeous writing by a genius.
Excellent. Do you have any more guilty pleasures to share with us?
Later.
Okay. I'll let you off. Our Gavin Wilson, who is our special guest panelist tonight. Gavin is now head of the ambassadors for Wattpad. He is in Toronto, Canada at headquarters. he actually, before the broadcast, he gave us a nice little tour. If you would like to actually kind of see what Wattpad looks like from the inside out, there's an amazing video that's available on YouTube, and I believe it's on Wattpad's channel, and it will take you through a day in the life of a Wattpad employee. So if you want to see it, definitely go and check it out. It's very much worth it. But Mr. Gavin Wilson, the orangutan, would you please share with Wattpad Nation your guilty pleasures?
Okay, well, yeah, music-wise, it's very much from my childhood. My father has amazing taste in music, and whenever we were in the car, there was always stuff on in there, and the one that always stuck with me, and I still listen to very much now, is Pink Floyd. And I can sit and just bliss out to Pink Floyd with a bit of guitar blowing away in the background and disappear quite happily.
I thought you were going to say with a little bit of something, something.
Matt, you're too young to know about this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very much Pink Floyd, and I can disappear in my own head quite happily with that one, which is probably dangerous actually. The movie-wise, I very much love my science fiction, as you probably know, and there's one film that no one else has ever seemed to heard of, which is a film called Dark City. And it was around in 1998, I think, and it's a very odd film. It's got the only kind of really famous person in it is Kiefer Sutherland, who plays a mad doctor. And it's I'll just read you the summary, and it says, a man struggles with memories of his past, including a wife he cannot remember, in a nightmarish world with no sun, run by beings with telekinetic powers who seek the souls of humans. And it's a little daft, but it just absolutely grabbed me, and I love it. And every now and again I just find it on Netflix or something and just watch it again. Usually when my wife's not around because she hates it. So yeah, but it is a great film.
That's great. I think that Kiefer Sutherland, he makes some really weird movies. I mean, in general, like before 24, he was just a strange dude. He did another movie. It was called Flatliners. And
that was awful.
Amazing movie. The concept was incredible, but he was super creepy in that movie.
Yeah, I remember seeing that one in the cinema as well, and yeah, there we go. Less said about the Flatliners, the better, perhaps. But yeah, and I'm actually not guilty about this one at all. My favourite writer is Terry Pratchett. I have read and reread and re-reread virtually everything he's ever written, time and time again. The man was a genius, and I was very saddened when he passed away early this year. But yeah, he is just wonderful. And anyone who can get that level of humour and characterization and just depth to his stories, especially in a world that floats around in space on the back of 5 elephants and a turtle, quite frankly, yeah, the man's a genius. He was one.
Gavin, can you share some titles from Pratchett?
What, book titles? Yeah. You have things like Reaper Man, which is my personal favourite, where Death gets fired and ends up working on a farm. You have things like The Colour of Magic, which was the original Discworld series, but he actually started out as a science fiction writer with Strata and Dark Side of the Sun, and he went back to that recently with The Long Earth, writing with Stephen Baxter, who used to write with Arthur C. Clarke. And the Long Earth trilogy is just, it's wonderful. I love it. And, you know, I'm sure people say, oh, it's not hard science fiction and all the rest, but it's still a darn good story, and he has a sentient vending machine in it, so quite frankly, we're done. It's good.
Fantastic.
Your moniker comes out of it, doesn't it? Doesn't your moniker come out of Terry Pratchett's work, or did I make that up?
No, you got it absolutely right. One of his characters in the Discworld was the librarian who looked after the library at the Unseen University in Ankh-Morpork. And
uh-oh. Come on, Gavin.
On Trouser Lake. Oh no, still here. I can hear. How's he put it? Oh no. Am I back?
We're losing you, Gavin. It's kind of skipping.
Oh, that's not good. Hang on. Am I still here?
Yes. Much better now.
Good. But yeah, so yeah, it came from the librarian who was an orangutan due to a magical accident, and he used to live in the library and find it very easy to reach books on the top shelf because he had long arms.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I think that everybody, we had Terry Matheru on last weekend, and now we have Gavin Wilson. and it's just those British accents. You just stare, you're just like, you're so dreamy. Brittany Charmantine, if you could share your guilty pleasures with Wattpad Nation. Can you hear us, Brittany? I hope so. Wow, we're getting kind of bashed with technical difficulties. I apologize. Brittany, can you hear us? Yes, no, maybe.
It doesn't look like it.
Okay, hopefully we can get this taken care of. I just sent her a message. I apologize about that, everyone.
You're breaking up.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that it's your connection. I don't want to. I know that sounds kind of pointed, but I'm pretty sure that it's on your side because I've kind of rigged it so that my bandwidth is ridiculous. Come on, come on.
Why don't we come back to her and move on?
Yes, we will come back to her. Brittany, if you can hear us, please sign off and sign back on. Hopefully a restart on your computer will help. And we will get back to her, so I'll make a note of that real quick. I do want to let the entire audience know that last week we gave away a Wattpad mug to Michelle Jo Quinn, who has been using our Twitter hashtag, who has been on our thread, and I think she posted something on Facebook. I know somebody did. I'm not sure if it was her or not. But that's exactly how you get entries into our raffle. And this week we are going to give away another Wattpad mug. So if you would like a Wattpad mug, this is what you do. Use our hashtag TCBWatt and tell us your guilty pleasures. Or you can post them on our thread or use Facebook. Facebook is, they've kind of adapted the whole hashtag thing, so we can actually search for it just like you do on Twitter. But look for that. I will start announcing winners. But Michelle Jo Quinn did win last week. Your mug is on the way. Thank you so much to Amanda Lai for setting that up. You're just absolutely incredible. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Moving on, we have cream or sugar, which is my favorite part of the broadcast. It is where we put Wattpadders like you in the spotlight, and the best way to do that is by going down our panel list and actually giving you shout-outs from these amazing panelists themselves. I think that's it gives it a bigger dimension than me just saying, oh, check out these Wattpadders. When it comes from them, you will see that they are actively reading your stories. They are so invested into what you're writing. So here we go. I'm actually going to start with Mr. Gavin Wilson for your cream or sugar shout-out.
Okay, I'm going to cheat and do two, because I'm like that. One of the guys I'd like to shout out to is an English lad called Dan, otherwise known on Wattpad as Angus Ecrivain. He was actually one of the first people I met. We both started on site at around about the same time, and he's been a good lad. I've known him. Oh, hey Brett. I've known him for all that time, and we've always talked. And he's always written stories, as have I. But he's also been very much a champion of science fiction on Wattpad. Through his own profile, he's run various kind of sci-fi competitions, and he's also set up something called Forbidden Planet, which he runs with a couple of other kind of side stars, and they've got a monthly publication going on, like an e-magazine called Tell and Cruise, which has hosted some great challenges, some great stories, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, well done, Dan. One day, mate, I will take you out for a pint. And I'd also like to mention the ambassadors, because they do a lot of great stuff. They are a pebble in the pond of Wattpad, and the ripples of their influence spreads out far and wide, and they do a lot of good stuff. So thanks, guys. Keep up the good work, and I look forward to working with you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mr. Wilson. Miss Rita Kovac, will you share your cream or sugar shout-outs with us?
I also have two this week, and my sugar shout-out is to an awesome person who is just a reader. And I know others on this panel have previously highlighted Wattpadders who only use the site to read. and don't post their own works. And I think it's important to continually give proper recognition to these people. If Wattpad was just full of writers, it wouldn't be nearly as rewarding and well-rounded as it is now. So with that said, I want to thank Nikki Mendoza, or Nikki ME5150, for her incredible support.
You're so good. You're right on the money.
To not only me, but obviously you can see Nat's expression, a lot of other Wattpad writers whose work she reads, and let me tell you, Nikki reads a lot. I'm fairly certain.
The world. She'll post it on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
Wow.
It's crazy cool.
Exactly. I mean, she goes through at least one book a day. She'll either, read something that's complete and blast right through it, or she'll, come back whenever you have an update and read chapter by chapter. She has hundreds of books waiting in her library to read, and she's completed hundreds. And like Nat said, yeah, well, she'll use all of the social media buttons on your chapters to publicize that she's reading and that she likes it. And she's also very interactive in the comments section as well. So she gives heartfelt comments, and she remembers your characters even though she bounces between stories. It's incredible that she gets so invested, and then she knows what she's reading and she remembers it. So if you have Nikki reading your book, consider yourself to be very lucky. And now my cream shout out is to someone whose name you will probably all recognize, because she's not only a writer, but she's also an ambassador. And I think she's watching this live broadcast right now. She will also probably make an appearance on this panel very soon, which I'm very excited about.
Next week.
Okay, there you go. I didn't know if it was a secret or not, but next week, so get ready, because I'm talking about Catherine Gansel, or Catherine Arlene as she's known on Wattpad. Catherine is incredible. She will answer any questions you have for her. And you can tag her and she'll get right back to you. And if she doesn't know the answer, she'll go find out. She's very patient. She's very polite. And I don't know how many hours are in her day, but it has to be definitely more than 24 for her to do all the things she does. Because in addition to keeping peace on the chat boards, Catherine also writes epic romances. She's been a Waddy finalist 3 years running, and she won the Talk of the Town award for her book, The Boy in the Woods, in 2014. So this book is an incredibly emotional story of a young girl named Jess who meets a mysterious boy who changes her life. And Catherine makes you feel like you're in the 1950s with her vivid descriptions of life at the time, and your heart will be ripped out in the story, reading all the things that happened to Jess in order to find her ultimate happiness. Back to you, Nat.
Nice, very nice. Yes, absolutely. She's incredible. If you have not interacted with @Catherine Arlene, please do, because she's not just an amazing person, like Rita was saying, with the way that she helps people, but also she's an incredibly funny lady. Her messages, we've traded a couple jokes back and forth, but she's very, very wonderful, very effervescent on Wattpad. So thank you so much, Catherine Arlene. Very excited to have you on the panel next week. Miss Mary Tabor.
And I just want to say that Catherine and Gav both saved my life when I first started on Wattpad. Every single comment that I made on everything I was reading went inexplicably out to Twitter, and I wrote to both of them, and they told me what to turn off. So there you go for that. Glad you'll be on the panel next week, Catherine. My two shout-outs this week are, let me start with Sarah_A_. Sarah has written something, a book called, a little novel, a mini novel called Confessions of a Mormon Bride. And I want to say this, that it's sort of going to hit sort of maybe next week's subject a little bit, and I don't think she's ever read a word of what I've written or ever left a comment. I read her from the get-go. And Confessions of a Mormon Bride is heart on the page, fine writing. My first comment and vote appears after parts 1 through 6 of this book, and I wrote this comment, which I'm going to now find and read to you. I wrote Sarah_A. I have read What Really Happened That Summer, parts 1 through 10, and this chapter, session 1. The direct voice, the unfolding with a sense of real time, the engagement with conflict, both internal and external. All of this is why we read and why I'll keep reading. And I say here today to all who are listening, so should you. My second shout out, and since it is still National Poetry Month in April in the United States, is to Shannon Kelly. That's Kellie, Shannon Kelly. Her book, Love Verse, is just beautiful. A gentle, creative soul shines through these lines. The collection opens with this. I'm a wandering insect. I have many arms, nothing to hold. You can call me a butterfly, if you like. The eyes on my wings will still be deception. The intelligence here and the lightness, the exploration of the strength and the frailty of love pervades her work. Trust me, guys, she will hold you, she will transform you, she will then let you go, and you will fly.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Mary. And if you have any cream or sugar shout-outs yourself, the way that it works is the whole purpose behind cream or sugar is it's either a Wattpadder who is risen to the top, or the cream, or it's already an amazing Wattpadder that we're just throwing a little sugar at. So please use our hashtag TCBWatt and let us know who your most influential Wattpadders you've come across are. We'd really love to know, and you can also ask us any question you'd like during the broadcast or during the week if you watch this video on demand. I know a lot of people, their 6:30 Eastern doesn't really jive with their schedule, but that's okay because we do have them all archived for you, so they are available. Now, we are getting to the entree, which is the meat of our discussion every single week. This episode is, of course, entitled It's a Marathon, Not a Sprint. And I think that encompasses the writing journey on Wattpad that you take very, very well. You can't think that it's going to happen overnight. I know that there's this really, really great Wattpad video. It's called That Wattpad Moment, and it's about this girl who starts writing on Wattpad. And she's a barista at a coffee shop, and she starts publishing. And then the night... She's kind of wrestling with, ooh, should I publish it? Should I not publish it? And then she finally kind of, breaks and she says, all right, and she hits the publish button. And then overnight, mysteriously, thousands and thousands of reads and followers and comments show up on her page. And then she wakes up in just kind of like a hurry because she doesn't hit her alarm. And she runs over to work, and then somebody that comes up to the coffee counter, he's reading her book on his tablet. And so it's called That Wattpad Moment. It's very artistically done, and I know that the whole concept behind it is the fact that, yes, there are Wattpad moments out there, but please don't have the expectation that it's going to happen overnight. It's going to take a little bit longer than 24 hours. So that being said, I want to start this out with, I'm going to start with you, Miss Rita Kovac. As a Wattpadder, it's so easy to get lost in instant gratification. How do you push through the pain of not getting reads, receiving votes, and or comments?
Okay, so as Nat said in his intro, the reality is, unless you already have a lot of dedicated followers who'll read anything you post, getting thousands or even hundreds of reads overnight will be very hard to do. Notice how I specifically said dedicated followers. That's the key word, dedicated. How do you get dedicated followers? You interact. You read others' works, you comment, you vote on the ones you like. You advertise your book in the Share Your Stories thread. And don't just put a link with a sloppy summary full of misspellings on there. Create a cool graphic or post your attractive cover and make it a clickable link. There are tutorials in the clubs to show you how to do it. So there's no excuses for that. Be professional both in your writing and in your advertising. It does work. Interact in other clubs too. There's one for each genre. Find what interests you. Contribute your opinions in a well thought out and respectful way. Others will take notice, and this will make them want to check out your writing. Unfortunately, as some of us have seen, there are people on Wattpad who think they can circumvent this process. They follow other users, wait for them to follow back, and then they unfollow. Some have amassed 10 or even 20,000 followers this way. But they don't have any books in their reading lists, no trail of comments on their works, on others' works, no presence in the clubs. And the statistics on their books don't lie. You'll see that these numbers are low. So the process isn't working. Not even one read per follower in most cases, which just shows that, this isn't the way to do it. Don't waste your energy on this. Write, interact. Your time is precious, so don't waste it. And you know what? Even the big names know this. famous authors like R.L. Stine or Margaret Atwood, who are also on Wattpad, they don't sit back and wait for reads. Even though they could, they have their name recognition. They run contests or do Twitter Q&As. They interact. And so should you. So don't forget, other writers on Wattpad are waiting for those comments, votes, and reads just like you. If all else fails, go back to your work in progress and start writing.
I think that's where it all starts and stops. If you're not writing, then there's really nothing to interact with. So make sure that you, regardless, so we talked about the hump and the slump in one episode. If you're taking a break from your writing, like I am currently, because life is ridiculously crazy for me, just find a way to make sure that you are, in fact, putting words on the page. It's super important that you continue to do so. I've found really kind of ways to, or I don't want to say clever, but there are ways that I've kind of experimented with that have worked. If it's either just telling a joke on Facebook, or if it's writing a blog post really fast. I mean, anything and everything that could just keep words on a page for me, so I'm constantly performing the exercise. Make sure that you do that. Make sure that you find some way to keep moving. Miss Mary Tabor.
I came on to Wattpad as a published, though hardly famous writer, and as I often say, writing is a solitary act. The joys come in the room of my own where I work, precious like snowflakes on a midnight walk. So when I came on Wattpad, I can tell you guys that truly my expectations were exceedingly low. I really had no expectation that anyone was reading my work, except perhaps my publisher, and I wasn't always sure about that. And I had the advice from a writer I deeply admire. His name is Frederick Bush, and he told me, Mary, when my first book came out, he said, Mary, remember this, that the joy is in the making, not what comes after. The scary part for me has actually been being read. For once it goes out into the world, and I have to admit that the desire to close the round, a term that Gavin used earlier when maybe pre-show, but the desire to close the round is there, but it's very scary. The fear that my work might not be understood the way I've written it, that scares the heck out of me, and I worry about that. The one thing that has happened to me here, though, is that I have found an audience of readers across countries, across cultures, all over the world, and I have to say that I have floated like a little boat on the sea of your belief, and heartfelt thanks to anyone who has read me. Thank you. And I keep in my hip pocket the advice that the joy is in the making.
Thank you so much, Mary. Wow, Mary just makes me want to cry every time I talk to her. She has like some amazing stories, just on her personal life, in her memoir especially. It's very rich with emotion and raw experience. And if you haven't read it right now, it is a Waddy Award-winning memoir. It does have a little bit of clout to it. Please do yourself a favor and pick this up. I do want to say that Mary is also one of those people who will be very real with you in conversation. She won't, or at least if you ask her to be. I think sometimes she tries to be, the sweet, nice lady. But if you ask her to be, she can be, real with you and open and honest and candid, and that's very rare to find, especially on a site that kind of projects anonymity. So, moving on to Mr. Gavin Wilson. If you could tell us, how do you push through the pain of not getting reads, receiving votes, and/or comments?
I would just say, I have to say, I echo both the ladies before me. Fantastic, and I couldn't really say it any better myself at all. But ultimately, I think it just comes down to keep writing, keep reading. And if you're finding yourself at a bit of an impasse, or you're getting a bit down, pick up that favourite book and just read it again. Get inspiration from it. Look at some of the comments you've had before on your work. Grab 2 comments that say that, but they are heartfelt, proper feedback. Even if you only have 2 readers, those are dedicated readers who love your stuff. Write them more stuff, treat them, and just keep going. Everyone has the odd bobble in their readership or whatever, but just keep going.
Absolutely. I think That's great, Gavin. We're kind of seeing a black screen, or at least I am. I don't know about the rest of the panel.
I am.
But
I am.
when you come on, it fades to black.
That's weird. Okay, I will try moving. Hold on.
It must be a Canadian thing. I don't know.
It's worth a go. Got a spotlight behind their head now.
We know that you're listening to some Pink Floyd right now, right?
Absolutely. I can put some on if you want. That's not a problem.
Heck yeah, that's amazing. But you gotta have like a little laser light show in there. That's the only way to enjoy Pink Floyd to me. Miss Brittany Charmatine, we did not get to your cream or sugar shout-outs quite yet. I would like to do that now.
Okay, cream and sugar. So I have 2 books that I want to talk about tonight. The first one is a book, I actually read this quite a long time ago. It's called Cat, and it's by an author named Siwanika. And this book is a mystery, and it is written from the point of view of a cat. It tells the story of a human mother that has disappeared, and we don't know why, and the cat is trying to figure out what happened to her. She's left her husband and her 2 teenage children and a newborn baby. And the thing I love about this story is that it's poignant and innocent and full of and deft writing. Read it, and she has also written a sequel called Finn, and she's currently posting another one, and it is called The Heartbreak. So she definitely read her stories. The other one is called Dating the Undead, and it's by Juliet Lyons' book, but I'm so excited about it, but I just couldn't wait to share it with you guys. It's a Wattpad featured story, as is Cat, by the way. And it's about a young woman. Her name is Silver Harris, and it takes place in sort of an alternate reality where the world knows that vampires are real. And the story opens where she steals someone's coat at a party, she loses her purse, and she meets a hot, sexy vampire. And from there, I guess she's hooked on the whole vampire idea, and she joins a vampire-human dating service. And from there, and I don't know what happens yet, but
Actually, Juliet Lyons, she received a shout out from Mary, and that just goes to say that this is a Wattpadder who is so active in the community that 2 panelists are just over the moon about her. And if you want to find out a way,
I found out from Mary.
I want to live next door to her. I want to live next door to her. I've told her that. I want to live next door to her.
Oh, she's fantastic, and I think that's. I mean, she's. If we could multiply you, Juliet Lyons, times 1,000,000, I mean, Wattpad would just be a place that nobody would want to leave. It would be that what is it in Percy Jackson? They have like this casino where you're just like kind of floating around, and everybody's like is very euphoric. That would be you. So please, when you make a casino and you multiply yourself or clone yourself, just let me know. I'll definitely take a visit. Did you have another one, Brittany?
No, just those 2.
Okay, fantastic. And now,
would you
answer our question?
Cat and Dating the Undead.
Great. Would you answer our question? How do you push through the pain of not getting reads, receiving votes, and/or comments?
Okay. So I didn't know anyone when I started hosting Mermaids and the Vampires Who Love Them, and I begged all of my friends to please come on the site and read my story, so at least I would feel like somebody was reading my story. And so of course they took pity on me, and I'm very grateful to them. But then what started happening was, I guess, it started ranking a little bit, and other people find the book and read it. And few loyal readers, and they were so wonderful. they enjoyed the story so much, and they would say, your story doesn't have more reads. And so what I chose to do was focus on those people, and just I would like, these are people that are on Wattpad that are enjoying my book, and I didn't have to bribe them or make them dinner or anything. So that's and my advice to people out there is to just keep writing. And you know, yes, the joy comes with the act of writing, and you should be happy. Social website, and so we're all here because we want to meet other writers. We want to, and we want people to read our stuff. So eventually, you're going to want that. But the idea is that you need to be happy with every single reader, every single vote, every comment that you get, and keep writing, keep getting better. Eventually, your audience will find you, and when they do, be ready.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. I think of it a lot like as when you're learning how to ride a bike. I think everybody starts off with training wheels, and I think clubs and forums and interacting with Wattpadders who are very engaged with the community, that's a really good set of training wheels. So if you're not actively seeking those people out, you definitely need to, because you are going to fall off your bike a lot if you don't. So we kind of expanded on the point of a foot and mouth experience, and you're going to have a lot of those if you just think that you can do it by yourself, and you might have just kind of this misguided notion that whatever you put out is going to be awesome. That's just, I mean, like we said, if you're not an established writer and you're joining Wattpad, then it just materializes. You really have to work at it. Now, going over to Mr. I'm going to start with Gavin on this one. Or, hang on, I'm sorry. Gavin, could you please answer question 1?
Was that the on the entree? Yeah.
Yes. Did we do that? Am I?
I think he already did.
I'm sorry.
Go to question 2.
I made little check boxes so I could remember.
Go to question 2.
I can do it again if you want. That's fine.
So, like, this is how the episode starts out, everybody. And so I don't know. My brain's just.
He was good though. He was good though. It's worth a repeat.
Yes, absolutely. Totally memorable, Gavin. I totally remember what you said.
It's nice to be forgetful. It's fun.
It's because it's all black and I can't see you. I mean, I'm lost. I do want to tell everyone that this project so far, thank you for tuning into our episode, sharing these videos, liking them either across any of the social network platforms. It's been a really, really amazing experience so far, and I really hope that we can bring you several more episodes. We are mapping them out as we go. We have 10 that are pretty much set in stone. I believe I've said that on a broadcast before. We have some amazing panelists coming on. It's been really, really great to see how this has thrived. Me personally, I am about to take a trip down to Texas for about a month, but I don't want anybody to get scared about the fact that this is going to fizzle. I might be in a different location. You might see me in a very, like, a rundown motel or something like that, but I will make sure they have good Wi-Fi. About a time when another Wattpadder lifted your spirits and helped get you where you are today. And I am going to start with Miss Mary L. Tabor.
I'm in immeasurable debt to Zoe Genovi, who found me. Oh dear, I'm going to get a little emotional here. I came on Wattpad after reading David Streitfeld's article in the New York Times. It was on March 23rd in the business section. And it was last year in 2014. By mid-April, Zoe had written me, and she said to me, she asked me if I was posting what was it a full manuscript of nonfiction? And I told her yes. The hand that Zoe extended to me was the reach of an angel across literary time and hope. And I have to say to you, Zoe, that what you that Wattpad has given me such a sense of community and that I had no idea existed, and much comfort in some difficult times. And Zoe, this is to you, and this is the absolute truth from my heart. You are a gift in my life, Zoe Genovi.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us, Miss Mary. Ms. Rita Kovac.
Okay, this is going to be a bit long because there's 3 examples I want to give, but first let me start with saying that I honestly believe in karma, which means that if you put good out there, good things will happen to you in return. I try to follow this principle as much as I can on Wattpad, and because of this, I could name tons of instances where I've gotten help from others back in return. So the 3 I want to mention in particular, and I'll try to be quick about them, is they all actually happened in the past week. So the first one came from an author of a little-known book you may have heard about called The Cascade Girls. Alice Arden has not only self-published this awesome paranormal story, but she actually recently contracted with Amazon to re-release it. So because agents are occasionally asking her for recommendations on books that could potentially get as successful as hers, Alice offered a group of us she interacts with outside of Wattpad if we'd like her for her to do a little name dropping on our behalf with these agents. So because I am querying several books right now, I said absolutely, of course. And you know, Alice was in no way obligated to make such an offer to anyone, and it just shows you what a wonderful person she is for doing this. The second example I want to mention was Rebecca Skye, author of the phenomenally popular The Love Curse, The Cheaters Club, and Mood Scale books. Rebecca was actually looking through the manuscript wishlist website, which agents, publishers, and editors use to publicize what they would like to see come through in their inbox, and she actually noticed several who mentioned pirates, and she actually sent me a private message to give me a heads up about this. Now, how cool was that? Not only did she know that I have a completed pirate adventure on Wattpad, but she actually took the time to message me about it. And this all goes back to what I said previously about interacting with others and how important that is. My final example of how Wattpad recently helped me is from Chris Kosak. Chris is a writer and actually a former MTV VJ whose horror book, The Illuminati Garden Club, was recently featured the same week that mine was. Now, we've chatted in the past before, but this past week she actually also sent me an unexpected private message, and it was because she'd recently gone on vacation in Savannah, Georgia, and she realized what strong historical connection the city has to piracy, including to Blackbeard himself. And once again, she thought of me and my book and suggested that if I was thinking of any sequels, maybe I'd be interested in finding out more about Savannah. And I was totally blown away by Chris's thoughtfulness, and now I am definitely thinking about how I could set more action in my books here in the future. So, you know, all of this happened in 1 week, and, you know, it just goes to show you that you just can't wait around for others to do nice things for you. Be the initiator. Write a note of encouragement on someone's board, or just, you know, send them a message to say hi. You can't imagine how something that may seem like a small gesture to you could really mean a lot to someone else.
Absolutely. Amen, girl. Seriously. I think it's a concept in physics called centripetal motion, and it's when you spin something, but it takes that initial push, that initial velocity to start making it go. Flywheels, I believe, in automobiles have to do with that. I do want to go over to Mr. Gavin Wilson. Could you tell us a little bit about, let's see, orangutangents, and how you came up with that concept?
That's a very good question. I have a horrible feeling it's just due to the lack of any sort of coherent train of thought in my brain, to be honest. I have a bit of a flighty head, and it tends to disappear off in all sorts of directions, quite often up its own backside, and many other things. So I get very worried about the state of my brain. But orangutangents was born of a desire, I suppose, over Christmas. I thought, I haven't done much writing recently, and I need to make sure I try and write something every day. So I promised myself that I would write something every day, no matter how odd, disjointed, random, just bizarre or whatever. So I thought, well, the only way I'm going to be able to try and get this together in some sort of collections if I call it something really daft. And I was just thinking, well, my brain tends to go off on tangents, so tangents and an orang kind of on the fault, on the front. So Orangutangents was born, and it has proved to be a collection of 3 months worth of complete random nonsense, which I've thoroughly enjoyed.
Great, great. Thank you so much. I mean, I think it's just you call it complete nonsense, random, but I do want to say that it's nice to have something that's kind of silly and random out there with all the novels and things like that are kind of dominating Wattpad. Now, if you could please, sir, answer our question. Tell us about a time when another Wattpadder lifted your spirits and helped get you where you are today.
Okay, this is probably going to sound slightly corny, but I very much echo Rita's thoughts on karma, and I do very much believe that if you are giving positive, you will get positive back. And I've been knocking around on Wattpad for almost 5 years now, and I've gone from kind of pretty appalling writing at the start to having a few short stories in kind of various e-zines and things. But all of that has been made possible by Wattpad, but also by the feedback and positive comment that I've had from anyone who's read my stuff. And what I love is that you can wake up any given morning and you have your emails there, and 3 or 4 of them may saying something along the lines of, love this, really enjoyed it, thanks for making my day. And it's like, well, you just made my day, thank you. And every time you get a little comment just like that says, really enjoyed this, loved it, whatever, even if it is literally just a little kind of heart symbol, that's great. And it makes my day every single day. So thank you to whoever's left me a comment. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I think Michelle, she was saying that those comments, they're kind of like a paycheck for her. Those votes are kind of like a paycheck for her. It's absolutely true. I think it gives you something that is beyond currency, actually. But yes, it does mean everything in the world. If you are a reader like Nikki Me 5150, she makes you feel like $1 million every time she reads your story. It's really amazing. Miss Brittany Charmentine, could you answer our question for the entree?
Sure. So again, there are so many really kind people on the site that have helped me, and I can't, it's hard to narrow it down, but I will, because we don't have forever. But one person who I met pretty early on was named Jay Victor, and then much later we found out that Jay is actually a she named Victoria James, and she's written Slave Days, and I know we've mentioned her before in shout-outs and so on, but she started reading my story, leaving the most amazing comments to me. And as I got to know her, she made me feel like something that maybe was pretty good. She helped me get some confidence going, and friendship from there. And then she decided to organize a little thing called LondCon, which was a big Wattpad meetup in London, and she invited me to go over there and participate and be on a panel. And so I got to meet her in person. I've met quite a few of my Wattpad friends in person now, and they all turn out to be exactly as you would think they would be. They're all incredible, wonderful, warm, intelligent, kind people, exactly as I guessed that they would be. And so that sort of leads me to my second person, because it's somebody that I met at LondCon, and his name was Gavin Wilson. And he is, again, one of those people who, I don't know, he's just this guy. He turned out to be exactly who I thought he would be. Funny, warm, intelligent, and I had already been messaging with him for quite some time on Wattpad, and he was incredibly helpful to me. I would ask him the dumbest questions because I really knew nothing when I was starting out. And he always answered them with patience and kindness, and he never called me an idiot to my face. So I'm so grateful to him for that. I'm sure he thought it, but he never said it.
There's no such thing as a dumb question. You may have had a few dumb answers occasionally from me, but there's no such thing as a dumb question.
Yes. I think that it's amazing. We kind of touched on that last week with Taryn Matheru about the whole London Con experience. As I was saying, I believe I mentioned it then too, there are Wattpad meetups that are available for select dates. It's all done. Is it through the Ambassador program, Gavin?
The meetups, no, they tend to be kind of arranged between groups of users. There was something on the Wattpad profile about it a little while back, which I think you can still find there. But I must admit I haven't looked recently, if I'm honest.
Well, I will definitely post a link to our thread that has the book that you read for Wattpad meetups. They put it all in one book, and each chapter is kind of the information for example, the Toronto meetup, or a San Diego meetup, or a Houston, Texas meetup kind of thing. And then they do these things worldwide. For example, they were just in London, so that's pretty awesome. Now, we are to the part of the broadcast which is called Pass the Salt. It's a way that we add a little bit of extra flavor to this broadcast.
No mailbag today?
At the end, Mary.
Okay.
I promise, I didn't forget. Pass the Salt, which is honesty in 140 characters or less. It's a little challenging asking a writer, hey, you only have 140 characters. 140 words would be one thing, but 140 characters? Wow, you got to learn how to be concise. So I am going to start with Miss Brittany Charmentine for this and work my way down to Rita.
Okay, I have a very short one, and it is this. There is plenty of success to go around at the table of creativity. And what I mean by that is that just because someone else is having some kind of success with their work, with their art, it doesn't take anything away from another person. As a matter of fact, it adds to it. So
yes.
I actually found someone on Wattpad this week who left some pretty bad comments on not only my story, but some other done by people who I really respect. And I realized after a little bit of investigation that the person was really jealous. And it was like, no, we don't. That's not what we do on Wattpad. We're a community, and you should be happy when other people are doing well. So,
exactly. Green's a terrible color, people. Be orange, be bright, be happy, be W. Oh, we're going to Mr. Gavin.
That's great. I should have had a Wattpad sticker stuck on it there. Okay. I can do no worse than quote Bill and Ted. Be excellent to each other. Conduct yourself with passion and decorum. Say thank you. And remember, your gran may be watching what you do.
And then you have to end it with hashtag dude. Miss Mary Taper.
Well, since we were talking about this, working our way through the silence, here's my 140. Emily Dickinson, with not a word published, said, "Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all."
Ah, so good. I love your quotes, Mary. I don't know where you find them, but well, I know where you found them. You read a lot. Man, I need to start committing some of the stuff that I read better to memory. Miss Rita Kovac.
Okay, well, Brittany pretty much said what I wanted to say in a much more eloquent way, but mine is also about respect, and here it goes. Wattpad is free, and most authors have many other commitments. Show your support, but don't demand more or different content.
Excellent. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yes. It is free. Good. It is something that costs you $0 to participate in and or read from. You kind of have to make sure that you keep that mentality throughout your entire, however long your Wattpad tenure is. Is Wattpad tenure a thing? I just made it one. So I just want to let you know that you kind of have to go into it thinking, all right, this is Facebook meets YouTube meets Amazon Kindle. And you got to realize that, that's it's free, and you shouldn't really moan or complain about things that might either be changing in format or you know, like Rita was saying, the stories that you read. You got it for free. I mean, just kind of take it and run. It's like Halloween, you know. You get candy, you take it, you run. Go enjoy your cavities. All right. Now we are at the portion of the broadcast called Check Please, and it is where we are doing that little thing that Mary was talking about, mailbag, which we have a question from Thoughts on Paper, an amazing contributor to our thread, an amazing contributor to our hashtag on Twitter. Thank you so much, Thoughts on Paper. You asked this question, and I'm going to give this to Miss Mary Tabor. What are your views on stories that have POV shifts?
I'm going to be short on this because I want to make sure that I get in a question for Gav here. I want to say first that I did a writing tip on this on Point of View, and you can watch it. It's in the writing tips that are available on Wattpad's moniker. You can just go there and find that. So let me quickly just say that the key is to think of Point of View as a camera. Think of yourself as the director and try to hold, for the most part, try to hold the camera steady. So that the issue here is not whether you shift point of view, it's how you do it. If you jolt your reader and they feel as if in the theater they just got knocked out of their seat, they're in trouble. But if you do it smoothly and there's a kind of a transition that gets the narrator gets us into the next point of view, you can shift point of view smoothly the way the camera would do it. So think of it that way. For emerging writers, it's kind of good to start and learn in what's known as third person limited. That's he, she. Start it, control it, learn to control it. Once you have it in your hand, you can pretty much do anything. That's pretty much my advice on that. But my biggest point of advice is that a writer is like the hedgehog who knows one big thing, and that means all the rules are made to be broken. So if you just heard a rule there, your job is to break it.
Absolutely. I love it, I love it, I love it. Actually, I'm kind of disappointed that hedgehogs aren't blue. I had a Sega stuff, and I was kind of like really, really disappointed. So, Mary, you got a question from Shelley Burbank, and
yes.
It's to ask Mr. Gavin Wilson.
Yes, Shelley Burbank has been a great supporter of the show. Asked us last week if she could get this question on, and it's this. First of all, it has two parts. So part one is, do good stories all share, no matter what the genre, do they share certain qualities? That's part one. Part two is, since there are so many women on Wattpad, can you name a woman writer, not on Wattpad, whom you admire, someone we should all go out and read?
Okay, point one then. Good characteristics. I think that any story should have characters that just draw you in, that interest you, that can really make you believe in them. And there was a story I read recently by Andy Weir, who wrote The Martian, and it's about a guy who gets left behind on Mars. And all the way through the story, you're thinking, oh, come on, you can't do that to him. That's not fair. And he just puts his character through hell. And it's wonderful because you just sit there and you read it, and it just absolutely grabs you. And you're rooting for that character all the way through, going, come on, man, come on, go. And that's great. So if you can do that with one or more characters, you're there, you're laughing, you've got your readers. Staying with the science fiction, actually, as I tend to do, you mentioned a lady writer, and one of my favourite lady writers in science fiction is actually Anne McCaffrey. She broke the mold. She's a wonderful writer. She was the first woman to read a Hugo Award. She was the first to win a Nebula Award. I think in the late 70s, her science fiction books started appearing on the New York Times bestsellers list, which is, amazing. And she just absolutely wiped the floor with many die-hard, stuck-in-the-mud old fossils who were writing science fiction at the time. Her book, The Dragon Riders of Pern, was one of the first sci-fi books I read. And The Ship Who Sang. If you want one book that just lifts you, read The Ship Who Sang. It's just breathtaking. The characterization, the scenery, just everything about it, it's just fantastic. So, yeah, that's the one I'd go for.
I love it. Thank you so much, Gavin. And also, Gavin, thank you so much for being a part of this broadcast. We are running short on time. We're going to race to the end, and I want to bring up the Just Write It Challenge. Amanda Lai has kind of helped me with a lot of things as far as making sure that we have promotional advertisements that we can share on Facebook and Twitter that are really pretty and have the panel's beautiful faces on them. And so thank you so much for that. But she also wanted us to make sure that we are pressing Wattpadders to keep writing. That's what this episode has all been about. Keep writing. The best way to do it is by using the hashtag JustWriteIt on Twitter. You can take the pledge at any time to write 10,000 words in 30 days. For the rest of this month, which I can't believe it's almost May, they are doing humor. Tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Wattpad 4 will be doing a Twitter chat that expounds on humor. So please join them for that. It's always a lot of fun. I do want to say, episode 7 next week will feature a special guest, as we said, Catherine and Arlene. And the title of the episode is Quid Pro Quo, and we will get into that later. Thank you so much, Wattpad Nation, for an amazing broadcast once again. Panelists, please say good night.
Bye. Thanks for watching.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.